How do they get so rich?
Dialogue 1.
I've always wondered how rich people get so rich. Like, how do they make so much money?
Well, there are a lot of different ways. Some people inherit their wealth, while others build it up from scratch. But most rich people have a few things in common.
Like what?
Well, for one, they're usually very good at business. They know how to identify opportunities and take risks. They're also very hard workers and they're not afraid to put in long hours.
I guess that makes sense.
Another thing that rich people have in common is that they're very good at investing their money. They know how to make their money work for them, even when they're not actively working.
So, what are some specific examples of how rich people get their money?
Well, some rich people make their money through entrepreneurship. They start their own businesses and grow them into successful companies. Others make their money through investing in stocks, real estate, or other assets. And still others make their money through inheritance or family wealth.
I'm curious to know more about how entrepreneurs make their money. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say that you have a great idea for a new product or service. You could start a business to develop and sell that product or service. If your business is successful, you could make a lot of money.
That makes sense. But it's not always easy to start a successful business, is it?
No, it's definitely not easy. But it's one of the most common ways that people become rich.
What about investing? How do rich people make money through investing?
Well, there are many different ways to invest money. Some people invest in stocks, which are shares of ownership in companies. Others invest in real estate, which is property. And still others invest in other assets, such as bonds or commodities.
So, if you invest your money wisely, you could make a lot of money?
Yes, that's right. But it's important to remember that investing is risky. You could lose money if the investments that you choose don't perform well.
What about inheritance? How do rich people make their money through inheritance?
Well, if you're born into a wealthy family, you may inherit a significant amount of money from your parents or other relatives. This can be a great way to get a head start in life, but it's important to remember that inherited wealth is not a guarantee of success.
That's a good point.
So, those are just a few examples of how rich people get their money. It's important to remember that there is no one-size-fits-all answer to this question. Everyone's path to wealth is different.
Thanks for the insights, Ben. I never really thought about all of this before.
No problem. It's always interesting to talk about the rich and how they got their money.
So, what do you think is the most common way for people to become rich?
I think that the most common way is through entrepreneurship. Starting a successful business is one of the best ways to make a lot of money in a relatively short period of time.
What about you? What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. I think that entrepreneurship is the most common way for people to become rich. It's also the most challenging, but it's also the most rewarding.
Well, thanks for the conversation, Ben. I learned a lot.
You're welcome. It was fun talking to you about this.
Dialogue 2.
What do they do with their money?
Have you ever wondered what rich people do with their money?
All the time. I mean, they have so much money, they could do anything they want.
I know, right? I think it would be amazing to have that kind of financial freedom.
Me too. But I also wonder if it would get boring after a while. I mean, what do you even do with all that money?
I think it would depend on the person. Some rich people might use their money to live a lavish lifestyle with big houses, fancy cars, and expensive vacations. Others might use their money to invest in businesses or donate to.
I think I would probably do a mix of both. I would definitely want to have a nice house and car, and I would love to travel the world. But I would also want to use my money to help others.
That's a great idea. There are so many people in need, and rich people have the power to make a real difference in their lives.
I know. I think it's important to remember that wealth comes with a responsibility to help others.
Definitely. So, what do you think are some of the most creative ways that rich people spend their money?
Well, I know some rich people who collect art or vintage cars. Others have their own private islands or yachts. And some even have their own space programs.
Wow! Those are all pretty amazing. I guess the possibilities are endless when you have that much money.
They really are. It's kind of fun to imagine what I would do if I had that kind of wealth.
Me too. I think I would start by setting up a foundation to help people in need. Then I would buy a nice house and car, and I would travel the world. And of course, I would save some money for my retirement.
That sounds like a great plan. I think I would do something similar. But I would also want to invest in some businesses so that I could keep my wealth growing.
That's a smart idea. It's always good to have multiple streams of income.
Exactly. So, what do you think is the most important thing to do with money, regardless of how much or how little you have?
I think the most important thing is to be responsible with your money. That means spending it wisely and saving for the future. And it also means being generous and helping others when you can.
I agree. Money is a tool, and it's important to use it wisely.
Exactly. So, even if we're not all rich, we can all learn from the way that rich people manage their money.
That's true. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll be rich ourselves.
Hey, you never know.
Dialogue 3.
What are the pros and cons of being rich?
So, Bob, it sounds like one of the biggest cons of being rich is dealing with public scrutiny. How do you think rich people cope with this?
I think it's important for rich people to develop a thick skin. They need to learn to ignore the negative comments and focus on the positive aspects of their lives. They also need to surround themselves with supportive friends and family who can help them stay grounded.
That makes sense. It's also important to remember that not everyone is judging you just because you're rich. Many people are simply curious about your lifestyle and how you achieved your success.
That's true. It's also important to be open and transparent with the public. If you're honest about your wealth and how you acquired it, people are more likely to respect you.
Another challenge that you mentioned is dealing with the pressure to maintain one's wealth. How can rich people avoid this pressure?
I think it's important for rich people to have a clear understanding of their financial goals. Once you know what you want to achieve with your money, you can create a plan to make it happen. It's also important to live within your means and avoid overspending.
That's good advice. It's also important to remember that money isn't everything. There are many things in life that are more important than wealth, such as health, family, and relationships.
I agree completely. Money is just a tool that can help you achieve your goals. It's important to keep your priorities in order and to not let money control your life.
Finally, you mentioned that rich people are often targets for scammers and criminals. What are some steps that rich people can take to protect themselves?
There are a number of things that rich people can do to protect themselves from scams and crime. First, they need to be careful about who they trust. They should be wary of anyone who asks them for money or personal information. They should also avoid investing in risky or unfamiliar ventures.
That's good advice. It's also important to have a good security system in place and to be aware of your surroundings.
Exactly. Rich people should also be careful about what information they share on social media. They should avoid posting photos and videos of their expensive possessions or revealing their travel plans.
Thanks for sharing all of this great advice, Bob. It's clear that there are both pros and cons to being rich, but it's important to be aware of the challenges and to take steps to mitigate them.
You're welcome, Alice. I'm glad we could have this conversation.
They continued to talk about the topic of wealth for another 10 minutes, discussing different strategies for achieving financial success and living a fulfilling life.
Dialogue 4.
What can we learn from rich people?
I've been thinking a lot about the rich lately. What can we learn from them?
That's a great question. Rich people have a lot to teach us, both in terms of business and life.
Let's start with business. What are some of the key things that rich people do differently?
Well, for one thing, they're very good at identifying and taking advantage of opportunities. They're also very willing to take risks. And they're not afraid to fail.
That's true. Rich people are always looking for new ways to make money and grow their businesses. They're not afraid to step outside of their comfort zones and try new things. And they know that failure is a part of the learning process.
Exactly. Another thing that rich people do well is build relationships. They know that it's important to have a strong network of people who can help them achieve their goals.
Yes, networking is very important for success. Rich people are always looking for new people to connect with, both personally and professionally.
Now, let's talk about life lessons. What can we learn from rich people about living a happy and fulfilling life?
I think one of the most important things we can learn from rich people is the importance of setting goals. Rich people have a clear vision of what they want to achieve in life, and they're always working towards those goals.
Yes, having a clear sense of purpose is very important for happiness and fulfillment. Rich people are always striving to achieve something, even if they've already achieved a lot.
Another thing we can learn from rich people is the importance of hard work and dedication. Rich people don't get rich by sitting around and doing nothing. They work hard and put in the hours to achieve their goals.
That's true. Success doesn't happen overnight. It takes hard work, dedication, and perseverance.
Finally, I think we can learn from rich people the importance of giving back to others. Many rich people are generous philanthropists who use their wealth to help others in need.
Yes, it's important to use our wealth and resources to make a positive impact on the world. Rich people can set a good example for others by giving back to their communities and supporting causes that they care about.
So, to sum up, what can we learn from rich people? We can learn the importance of identifying and taking advantage of opportunities, taking risks, building relationships, setting goals, working hard, and giving back to others. These are all important lessons for living a successful and fulfilling life, regardless of our financial status.
Exactly. Rich people have a lot to teach us, both in terms of business and life. Let's all strive to learn from them and apply their lessons to our own lives.
Dialogue 5.
What is the future of wealth?
Have you ever wondered about the future of wealth? How will the way we acquire and manage our money change in the coming years?
It's a fascinating topic to think about. I think technology is going to play a big role in the future of wealth. For example, we're already seeing the rise of digital currencies and blockchain technology. These technologies have the potential to revolutionize the way we pay for goods and services, and even the way we invest.
That's true. I also think that the future of wealth will be more inclusive. In the past, wealth has been concentrated in the hands of a few. But with the rise of new technologies and new economies, I think we'll see more people having access to wealth and opportunity.
I agree. I think we're moving towards a world where everyone has the potential to achieve financial well-being.
So, what are some specific ways that you think technology is going to change the future of wealth?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think digital currencies and blockchain technology are going to play a big role. Digital currencies are already being used to make payments and investments all over the world.
That's interesting.
And blockchain technology has the potential to make these transactions more secure and efficient.
I've heard about digital currencies, but I'm not really sure how they work.
Digital currencies are essentially electronic forms of money. They're not backed by any government or central bank, but they're secured using cryptography. This makes them very secure and difficult to counterfeit.
And how does blockchain technology fit into all of this?
Blockchain is a distributed ledger technology that can be used to record transactions in a secure and transparent way. This makes it ideal for use with digital currencies.
I see. So, do you think that digital currencies will eventually replace traditional fiat currencies?
It's possible. But I think it's more likely that digital currencies will coexist with traditional fiat currencies. Digital currencies have some advantages over traditional fiat currencies, such as being more secure and easier to transfer across borders. But traditional fiat currencies also have some advantages, such as being more widely accepted and having government backing.
That makes sense. So, what else do you think is going to change about the future of wealth?
I think that we're going to see a rise in new investment opportunities. For example, we're already seeing people investing in things like cryptocurrency, NFTs, and fractional ownership of assets. These types of investments have the potential to democratize wealth and make it more accessible to everyone.
That's a good point. I'm definitely interested in learning more about these new investment opportunities.
There's a lot to learn, but it's definitely an exciting time to be alive. I think the future of wealth is going to be very different from the past.
I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing how things unfold.
30 minutes have elapsed.
Well, I guess that's all the time we have for today. But it's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed learning more about your thoughts on the future of wealth.
Me too. It's a fascinating topic to think about. I'm sure we'll have to come back to it again sometime soon.
Sounds good. Until next time.
Thank you for watching my English teaching video. I appreciate you taking the time to learn with me. I hope you found the video helpful and informative. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm always happy to help. I'm always working to create new and engaging English teaching content, so stay tuned. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Thank you again for your support.